Good evening. This is This Week Tonight with John Irvin on Geno TV, and today on the 4th of July. And this evening we have Bobby McGuire. Bobby, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Now, Bobby, a lot of folks on Nantucket probably know you from seeing you on the street corner playing the fiddle.
Playing the fiddle.
Now, where did you learn to play the fiddle?
I learned to play the fiddle in London, which is where I grew up, with a really, really great teacher who's just in the neighborhood when I was little, called Helen. And she's still teaching in London, and she's great.
And at the time that you were learning the fiddle or the violin?
I would say I was learning the violin. When you're 5 and you're first starting, there really is not much of a difference between between the fiddle and the violin. But I would say, yeah, I was learning the violin.
Now, at what point did you realize this is what I love, this is what I want to do?
I think just sort of all along, or else it was, a gradual. I guess there was a sort of a gradual phasing out of doing anything else.
Yeah, yeah. And when did you start coming to Nantucket?
I think when I was like 6 weeks old.
Okay, so you've been coming here for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
So you were born in England?
Born in England.
Where were you raised?
In London.
In London.
My parents both American, though.
You don't seem to have a British accent.
Not much. Dodged that bullet.
And how did that come about?
Just having American parents, I think, and growing up and being around that at home, and spending a lot of time here in the summers, and having American family over here that we were close with.
That makes sense. Now, for those out there who have never seen you on the streets, let me just say he's an incredible fiddle player. You should see these fingers move.
Well,
but where can they watch you?
On the street, right over there in front of Ralph Lauren, almost every night, weather permitting, from like 8 to 11 usually.
And you have told me that you were down in Austin, Texas.
I was.
There's a pretty good music scene down in Austin. What all were you doing down there?
Just the same thing I do everywhere, which is, as I was saying, I like to show up and start playing the fiddle and see if anyone notices.
Yeah.
And some people noticed, and I got to meet some really interesting people who were, making really cool music and doing cool stuff. I also met some, I don't want to go into too much detail about this, I met some terrible people who were making awful music.
Well, it's a balance of the scale. When did you first start busking here on Nantucket?
I first started busking at least 20 years ago.
How old are you now?
Going to be 30 next week.
Okay, so when you were about 10?
Mm-hmm.
Attaboy.
If not younger, maybe 8, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, it started off as my summer job, and then surprise, surprise, now it's just my job.
Earlier we talked about when you were learning whether it was the violin or the fiddle. Now it's definitely the fiddle.
Now it's definitely the fiddle.
Yeah. And why is it the fiddle as opposed to the violin?
So violin and fiddle, so violin implies classical and fiddle implies everything else. And I don't do that much classical playing anymore. I'm more in the everything else category. So that's why I say it's the fiddle.
Fair enough, and I'll accept that. And in terms of where you are right now, you're 30?
Mm-hmm. In a week, not quite.
Okay, in a week you're going to be 30. You're still in your 20s.
Yep.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years?
I don't know. I would always like to, I love it here.
Are you happy where you are right now and what you're doing?
It's, here we are in Nantucket on the 4th of July. It's beautiful, and I play the fiddle on the street, and I don't have to do anything else.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good situation.
Yeah.
But I think it is also important. It's, you got to go out into the big wide world and see what else is going on, and look for, any time that you see something that's interesting that you might be able to, be a part of.
you definitely are a part of Nantucket society here. I mean, most everybody that comes here during the summers who have been walking around town in the evenings have heard your music. And I just want to thank you very much for providing such wonderful music. And for those folks out there who want to watch Bobby again, just come downtown generally in front of the Ralph Lauren store in the evenings, and it's just fantastic fiddle music. Well, Bobby McGuire, thank you very much for joining us on this beautiful 4th of July.
Thanks for having me. Happy 4th.
Happy 4th to you, buddy.